Okay, but I'm just gonna share a brief summarize. Brief is summarized. It's a summarized CV. Brian is the guest speaker for the day, and he's the co-founder at I'm Image. Okay, that's the name of the business. So the title of the topic today is Management of Innovation. And Brian is a charismatic networker and a business builder. His extensive business experience in various industries is shadowed only by his passion for business. Brian attended business training at the Branscombe Center of Entrepreneurship as well as the Gordon Institute of Business Science. I wonder why he went there. Okay. And then he recently completed the Spark International Accelerator Program with extensive experience in innovation and brand building, and having previously named as one of top 50 youth entrepreneurs in South Africa in 2015, one of the top 15 youth entrepreneurs in Africa for 2016, as well as Innovator of the Year in 2017. Brian is a co-founder of I Am Image, and I Am Image is a creative agency. Though coming up with creative concepts, they create access to the township market, to big business, and access to big business for the township market. So I think they have a conduit, if I'm interpreting this properly. So Vuleka is such an initiative. So Vuleka is one of the initiatives. Vuleka is a grassroots economic development initiative focused on growing township-based businesses. Through the Vuleka mobile app, they facilitate bulk purchases of goods sold by township-based businesses, and their large network of township-based businesses forms collective purchasing power that enables them to negotiate better deals when buying in bulk. So from what I see here is that they connect the big suppliers with the small township businesses, and then somehow they use the big buying power in order to make it affordable for the small players in the township. So they say here that they pass the saving through to the business owners. They do pass that through. Okay, and then they say the orders then get delivered to them, saving them time and money. Okay, I'm Image won the Josie My Beginning competition 2016, Innovation Hub Gate competition in 2016, as well as Da Vinci Blank Canvas International Award for Sustainability, that is in 2017. And Vuleka won the SAB Foundation Awards for 2017 and the Da Vinci Award for Best Innovation Concept at 2017. Okay, all right. So yeah, that is just the brief that I have of this gentleman here by the name of Brian. And goodness, all I had was awards. How do you get this? Can I get some?
Yeah, no.
Okay, sure. All right. Okay, now over to you, Brian.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So I think just like you have just mentioned a bit with regard to Vuleka, we saw this as a way to essentially, when we started, was to help grow sustainable informal businesses in the townships. And what we saw from there was that a lot of them were struggling with getting stock, and that was their biggest problem. So because they were struggling with getting stock, we came up with a solution to say, how do we help them to get the stock, and how do we help them to get stock cheaper? And we saw that by bulk purchasing or using their collective buying power, we could go and negotiate discounts with the manufacturers of the products, and then be able to pass on those savings to the actual informal business owners. But we then realized that that was not the only problem that they were facing. So apart from stock, they also had problems with the fact that they had to then close off the shops when they had to go and stock up. Firstly, so that means that at the time that they're having to go and stock up, they're not trading. That means that they don't make money at that time. So we had to come up with a solution for that as well, and try and encompass it into what we're doing. And another thing we then realized was how do we then try and scale up and use the collective buying power of more people with the orders. And which is where we then introduced technology into it. So we developed the Vulega mobile app. And this is easy for anyone to then make the orders, and then we aggregate those orders in the back end. And that means that when we then go and negotiate or buy the goods, we can then use that whole collective buying power. Another thing that we then saw was we can't literally go and service everyone. So how do we then work with the community to be able to make our jobs a little easier? So what we do is that we work with youth in the townships. We call these youth marketers. We are aware that not everyone is tech savvy or has got access to a smartphone. So the youth marketers go out there to go and take these orders and also help with deliveries. When we also do deliveries, we use the taxis. So the taxis have got times when they're busy in the morning up until around 9 a.m. and then they're busy again in the afternoon. So during the time that they're not busy, we use them to make the deliveries to the actual informal business owners. We've seen that this has saved us a lot of money, as well as it's a security thing because no one is going to try and hijack it.
No, that's true, man.
So we're now in the process of actually expanding, and we are now using people within the township to then become micro distributors, so that we become one like warehouse, and then we can give them stock to be able to distribute around to the sponsor shops or informal businesses that are around them.
Wow. Taxi guys. Okay. All right. So that's what you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, that's
all right.
So with innovation is basically the fact that the way that we go about or trying to innovate is by using the people. So we use our youth marketers to come and basically try and come up with ideas for how we can make things better. Because they're the people on the ground. They know what problems are faced by the informal business owners. So they can come and tell us that, you know what, maybe we can try this out or try this out. And then you take that, you try it out for, a small space of time or through like a smaller group of people. If it works, then you can then use it or scale it out to all the people that you have. You incentivize the people to come up with those type of solutions, and that way you in a way stay ahead of the curve. And I mean, part of what was mentioned about using the right people for the right jobs is a big thing that we have found, because you need to find people that are willing to even think like that, to think about the fact that I can actually even make this easier for the end user of my solution that I'm coming up with. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not sure if everyone understood that, but I mean, what stands out for me is the taxi delivery. I mean, there's no. I mean, what are the delivery times like? I mean, that must be hectic.
No, not really. I mean, it's from around 9 a.m. until 2 in the afternoon, and then they go back to their routes.
But it's a prime example of creatively solving your problem by with a business model innovation and to create value for everyone, because the taxi driver is happy, you're happy because you've got a delivery person. The guy at his informal shop is happy that he doesn't have to close shop. So I think it doesn't matter if it's a taxi or a helicopter. I think it's magnificent.
It's a very innovative idea. Yeah. Okay, I do notice the many questions, but I do see that. So you are using the what do you call it? The technology. I mean the app.
Yeah.
In other words, people sort of tell you that, hey, I would need three boxes of Joko tea tomorrow.
So our app is essentially like an ordering platform. So it will have a catalog with pictures and pricing of what it is that you want. As an informal business owner, when you first come onto our app, you register with where you are. We know your addresses, we geolocate where you are, and so when you then make an order, you would make an order of 3, someone else makes an order of 5, someone else makes an order of 2. that's like 10 Joko teas now.
Yeah, so already you've got that total.
Yes. And then when we buy, we go and buy that, rather than you going to buy 3 or the other way around.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Janet?
So I had the privilege of being the adjudicator who evaluated Vuleka for this year's TT100 Awards. I can't tell you what the results were. But one of the things that struck me when you were presenting to us is how many obstacles and challenges you've encountered along the way, and the amazing solutions that you found. So I wondered if maybe you could share with everybody just some of the issues that have caused you to need to pivot or morph what you're doing.
Okay. So, I mean, when we initially started out, we thought we come up with this app or this solution that everyone is going to use. And the biggest thing that we found was that no one was using it. We paid so much money to develop this and it wasn't being used. And so we then had to find out, why are people not using this? And you can only find that out if you've essentially gained a level of trust with the people for them to tell you the truth. This is a trust-based type business, and we saw that we have to have a presence within like that township that we work in, so that the people can have trust in you to say, you will bring my goods and I know that I'll get them from you. When we opened our first office in Alex, the first week we got people just coming in just to come see that the office exists. And that you're there. So that's a big thing. And then also with using the youth marketers, it's people that live within that community, that grew up there. So it's also a trust thing. So I know that I can trust whoever's son because I've seen him grow up in front of me. So if he comes to come take an order, you get the community involved in that. So us coming up firstly with the app, which we thought was brilliant, which is now our first version of the app. We thought it was brilliant, but it had so many things going on. It had advertising, it had all of this, because we thought in our heads this is what people want. But then the shop owner at the end of the day is like, this is too complicated for me to use. When I go and buy from a wholesaler, I get a catalog with a picture and a price, and that's all I want. So that in a way for us was, like how when we are giving you everything.
Yeah, no, don't worry. You see, you went to Gibbs. If you came to us, we'll tell you. I'm just kidding. No offense, Gibbs. Yeah, okay.
So that made us also change the way in which we then come up with the technology. Another thing is that before we even got the youth marketers, we just went out with the app, and then we're not getting orders. Then we realized that people want a face-to-face type of communication. So hence we had to get the youth marketers. But then if they don't get a face-to-face type communication, how do we phase in technology to them? Now we've got a WhatsApp number that they can WhatsApp to get orders. It's whoever from this shop and this is what I want. And then we've seen that that's been easier now for them to then say, you're already using the phone, you're already using WhatsApp. Yeah. Why don't you then try and use the app to make orders? Another thing was also with regard to the manufacturers themselves of the goods. We realized that if we go to them with a value proposition of trying to say we'll buy stock in bulk, we can't compete with the wholesalers because they buy like truckloads of goods. However, the manufacturers don't know where their product goes to. They don't know who their consumers are. So their product journey essentially ends at the wholesaler. However, with our platform, we go all the way to the consumer, so we can tell you, run filtered data, who is using your product and if they like it or not. Our platform right now has got an interface for the consumer that buys from the sponsorship owner. So he can do surveys and tell you if he wants your product or not. And without you essentially going out into full production of a specific product, you can run a pilot and then know if there's something that you need to change without spending a whole lot of money.
Wow.
So that's a value proposition for them that they then can see, and they can start giving us those type of discounts.
True. Well done, Brian. Mari, you had something?
I just wanted to comment. I like the fact that you keep everything within the community, because one of the key things that has been shown with research is with the Jewish community, they have money touch them amongst themselves move at least 20 times before it leaves the Jewish community. So that's excellent. Well done to you. Also, your principles that you use, for example, you use the taxis to transport your goods. For me, that was very interesting. One of the things also was how you bulk buy. Have you used principles that or ideas that come from the way the Somalians do business or the Pakistanis do business, and some of your trading principles informed by that informal business sector?
Yes, exactly. So what we found is that a lot of the local guys were closing off because they couldn't compete. And they couldn't compete because they were not buying together. The government has tried to come in and say, form cooperatives, the local sponsorship owners. Form cooperatives and then we'll give you money to buy together, but they don't want to buy together. There's a whole lot of jealousy, I don't know, they just don't want to do it. So
we don't trust one another.
Exactly. So our platform allows them to get the benefit without necessarily having to buy together.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Okay, I think Paul also had something.
Well done, great work. It's also a money question. I'm curious how you mix an informal cash-based world and a back end which is based on electronic money.
So we've had but one of our biggest learnings as well, because when we first went out, we went out with a cashless payment type system, a cashless payment solution that they were supposed to then have a virtual wallet and then use that, and that never worked. So that was one of the biggest learnings that we had. We tried to find it with one of the banks, and also that didn't work. So we have then seen that it's also a gradual type thing that we have to then bring back in. So we accept cash, but then we accept card payments now as well. We've seen that one of the bigger brands like Coca-Cola has stopped accepting cash. So now the shop owners are forced to actually have cards or accounts. That has helped us. And then we can phase in the virtual wallet payment system after that as well, because that's part of what we actually got burnt by creating one and then no one was using it.
Okay, got that. I think, Egan, and then Brian, and then
sorry, man. So this is very interesting for me.
Okay.
Because I've currently been involved with my business partner. So we're going along the similar lines.
Okay.
But it's about competency development for these traders. But what we're targeting is the emerging farming market.
Okay.
And there's an app. And we've developed training material sitting at the back end of this thing.
Yeah.
And it's an app through the phone and things. But we're failing to get funding for this thing. And I just want to check with you, was that a problem with you guys getting funding to develop the app and stuff like that there?
So we have not been funded by anyone.
You haven't?
No. Only now we're actually getting people that are coming in that want to actually come and fund. So what we found was a lot of the funders don't necessarily understand the value of the bat. But then when you come and you can show them that this is what we've been doing for this long, and this is what this app will help do in terms of scalability, and then they can see that they can get maybe a return, then it's easier for them to fund.
So like you mean like venture capitalists and stuff?
Venture capitalists, government, whoever else you're looking at trying to actually put money in. There's a lot of grant funds that are out there as well, and they are easier to get because they look at what type of impact you're gonna have. So if you're saying you're gonna be educating smallholder farmers, there's a big drive for that because of food security and the fact that there's all this high unemployment. So you can access a whole lot of grant funding because of that.
We've tried, and it's if you don't have a prototype, if you don't have something that's working.
Yeah.
And the thing is, where we are, we start with capital to build this thing.
Yeah.
The concept is brilliant, and it's needed. It's definitely needed, but it's just beyond that now.
Did you tell them you went to London?
That's the problem. How do you sell these things? And it's the type of I don't know. Everybody says there's lots of funding available.
Is there no way that you can do it manually first, without building the platform?
I've tried it on Excel and stuff, but that's very basic platform.
Yeah.
I want to get something that's like out there to show.
But then you have to have that and then have the history for that. To say this is what we've done manually, and then if we are to develop this platform, this is how we can get scale, and this is how many people we can actually help without the manual type solution.
But I do note what you're saying. I think we could have that offline, and I'm sure there could be other inputs for that specific discussion. Brian, you're next. Oh, sorry, Bob.
How much money are you talking about?
To develop the app itself?
Yeah, just
about $500,000.
$500,000?
Yeah.
So more.
And the project manager. Top end is $1 million. That is it.
And you can't raise that.
Should be.
There are no organizations that are willing to take us down and say, you know what, okay,
Technology Innovation Agency.
The emerging farmers and the informal sector is massive. This app comes with competency development to teach people how to start keeping books, but very basic accounting. You know,
Okay, but
Sorry, can I just...
that you pay blood teachers.
okay, Bob. Okay, Marie, just the last question on that one.
I believe that there's funding that is available from Agri-Forum.
No, but there's funding everywhere, believe me.
And especially if it's from the agricultural sector, so they most likely have funds, and especially they're looking for people of color as well to fund. So maybe we should contact them. Yes, I believe there's a fund they have specifically for people of color.
yeah,
Okay, let me come back. Okay, Peter.
When you have competence in a self, you're missing a critical element of adult learning, which is experiential learning. You know, and people, I'm talking out of my area of expertise, but if someone came to me for a funding to fund a model where you can earn a competence on an app, I would be very hesitant to put money into it because of the principles of adult learning, experiential learning. Adult learns totally different to a child.
Okay.
You mean because of the platform?
Okay, let's take it offline. Cool. Yeah, a lot. Thanks, Brian.
Which is Brian's presentation, and apart from sharing a name. Brian, let me just say, your presentation and what you're doing made me euphorically optimistic.
Yeah.
Yes.
About the future. I think it's a wonderful concept that you've got. I think there's a bit of a risk that your business enterprise has in that your idea can be copied.
Yes.
And therefore the solution is that you've got to practice what is known as blitz scaling. I don't know if you've heard of blitz scaling. It is a concept developed by Reid Hoffman, the fellow who developed PayPal initially and then LinkedIn. And it's when you've got a great idea like you have, and your idea, let me just say why I think it's such a great idea. I mean, it combines, first of all, it combines on infrastructure platforms which have been created. Things like the internet, things like WhatsApp, things like app creation. The infrastructure of the taxi industry, utilizing them in their off-peak hours. I mean, to do the delivery. I mean, that is a real innovation to utilize something in its off-peak hours. So what I think, maybe we should have another offline discussion on this, but I'd like to talk about how one can, and there are different techniques which Stanford University developed a course on this, on how to get your idea so that it becomes a much more global idea. And I mean a global idea. The problems or the solutions that you have found, the problems, the satisfaction that you have given, you've designed for the delight of your customer base, and that can be applied not just in Johannesburg, not just in Alex, not just a village. It's got to go global.
Yep.
And I'd like to talk to you about how we make your concept global, because realize that I mean, something like Facebook started off just as a way for guys at Harvard to date girls. And now, I mean, it's a much bigger industry. And I think it's not, all your systems are not there. You're going to have to hire coders, you're going to have to hire software engineers. And you don't have to worry about funding at this stage.
Yeah.
Bill Goss, who has done a lot of work on this, found that getting finance is the fifth most important concept. The first most important concept is getting your timing right. The second is having your team and the execution of your product. Then it's the idea itself. Finally, and this is something which you have touched on, is how do you monetize your business idea? What is it? How are you certain of getting your money in? And when you've got those four right, the funds come to you. You don't have to look for them.
Sure.
So, Brian,
yes.
As I said, you have made me euphorically optimistic.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, and then Spa, you heard something?
Brian, I like your business model because it's similar to ours, and we also use taxis as one of our medium of communication. And I like Mary, what she spoke about a very point, and that's more the Somalians. And the reason why they stay winning is simply because they stock together, and of course they work together. However, I think what I'm missing with your presentation is more on the education part. In the early 80s and the late 80s and the early 90s, spaza shops were big around townships, and most of Abobogo didn't pass on that knowledge to people like us, you know. So in townships we have a lot of problems with spaza shops are being opened by young black guys like us, but the problem is what Egan was speaking about, the technical, the contextual, and the behavior. For an example, Pakistan is open at 6. I need to leave to come to work at 8, right? And the guy who's probably my friend or someone that I know is going to open at 9. I'm going to go to the Pakistani because at 9 I need to be in the office. So I'm lacking that in the present, like educating them on how to be competent, how to, you know, because this is a big industry. I think all the boxes you have ticked, but I, for one, coming from the townships, I know that there's this lack of ethic and behavior towards our businesses, you know.
Okay.
But none of that, I think you
Totally agree. I think just to add on to that, I mean, part of what we found is also that if you go to a locally owned spaza shops and a Pakistani one, if you go to a Pakistani one and you're short of R1, he'll give you the product.
Yes.
Because he knows that you'll come back.
Yes.
The local one would rather lose the wholesale.
Yes.
And then push you away to rather come back with all the money.
They also implemented this as it's a mini Stockville. They're using the same method that the Stockville are using, but probably my grandmother can probably it's a sack of maize meal, flour, and cooking oil. So it probably cost 150. So my grandmother for the first week she can give that guy 50, you know, the following week until she settles her debt. With that, that's what we're lacking in our communities. And now the problem is that you know this person personally, but you can't even get a loan. But this guy is a guy from Somali, but he gets you, you know, he knows the struggle. So I think that's the education that I'm speaking about.
Okay, thanks, Pa. I'm gonna allow last comment with Ezra. Yes, Ezra.
I think fantastic idea. I want to echo your sentiments from an education perspective because to date, spaza shop owners in the township see each other as competition. So you need to start showing the value of the bargaining power and how you pass that through to them for their own benefit. And I think that can actually crack the camel's back. The day they decide to collaborate more than compete with each other is the day they're going to maintain and retain the economy, the township economy is vibrant and active. So also that work ethic from when they open to when they close is very important. So business ethics is very important. I'm surprised you can't raise $1 million for your work. Let me tell you, we interact with a lot of funders through a program that we run. And the funders always say one thing, there's just not enough credible deal pipeline And the deal pipeline or the entrepreneurs always complain that there's not enough funding. You understand? So we are plugging into that platform to say, let us create for you a credible deal pipeline for people, almost like the Empowered X model, to say, if we present Brian to you, you would know that we've done all the necessary checks. He's a cut above the lead. He's ready for funding. No more questions. Fund Brian. So that's the kind of education that needs to go out there to entrepreneurs, because we also need to appreciate that entrepreneurship is not natural to South Africans.
No.
It's not second nature. So our engagement with entrepreneurs should almost be at a developmental stage, not assuming that they know what it takes to run a business. They don't.
Yeah. Thanks, Abuti Ezra. All right. Brian, thank you so much. I do appreciate your time and coming through this side. I know you're busy. Yeah, no. It's not an award. It's just our gift for coming in today. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you so much, guys. Yeah.